And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit. Like God's property, it's hard to market. So we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target. Cause when you got to drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping closed hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. Your lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
Most Egyptologists and anthropologists, archaeologists of the Eurocentric persuasion will say that Egypt is in Africa. They had to concede that, but then they still draw the line by saying that they weren't Africans like that. In other words, they weren't dark-skinned people. And of course, this is all part of the Great Deception. And the reality is that if they give up Egypt, ancient Kemet, if they give that up and say that that was a part of black Africa, then they will also have to give up Israel. And that's why they draw the line at Egypt, because if they give up Egypt, they've got to give up Israel.
Now, we're going to go over here, and I'm going to show you where Israel sits on the African tectonic plate, which means that Israel is northeast Africa. Now, when we look at this map, this is the Sinai. Okay? This is the Red Sea. This is Egypt. This is the Sinai. This is Israel. All right, this is Saudi Arabia over here. Now, if you see this in Hebrew, it says Haluach Afrikani, the African plate. Here it is right here. Israel is sitting right here. Israel is sitting on the Haluach Afrikani, which means that Israel is northeast Africa.
Without question, we are in Northeast Africa. We are landlocked to Egypt, with the exception of the Suez Canal, which was a man-made ditch, a boundary now between, in fact, it's not even really a boundary anymore since Egypt has reclaimed the Sinai Peninsula. But nevertheless, even those of us who are Pan-Africanists in our thinking and Afrocentric, we forget and we leave off that portion of Northeast Africa and don't want to claim anything beyond that.
Europeans classified this area as the Middle East. You know, and then since this is the Middle East, the other question, where the Middle West? Where the Middle North and where the Middle South? They don't have no geographical terms like that.
But the CT scan has one more surprise for Alejandro. Shammai's ethnicity.
Well, they have just told me that Shammai had Nubian features, which means that their ruling family was probably Nubian, and that was unexpected.
Examining Shammai's anatomy closely, the thickness of his bones and the shape of his nasal cavity, the anthropologists think he was a black African, likely from neighboring Nubia. a huge revelation that challenges the prevailing image of the Egyptian ruling class.
We always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type, and in this sense, Shammai is representing the society of the frontier, in which different ethnic groups were mixed. At the end, it doesn't matter the color of your skin. Shammai was Egyptian.
It just doesn't matter. 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 It just doesn't.
Wells comes face to face with the man he's been searching for. A new portrait of the common ancestor of every man today. Adam. Without the skull, we can't know for sure what Adam looked like. But a combination of genetic evidence, Bender's forensic skills, and cutting-edge computer software suggests he looked something like this. Thousands of years after the Bible, and hundreds of years after Michelangelo, we have a whole new face for Adam.
I like the expression. He's got a very forceful look.
He's intent on something, maybe taking over the world. You begin to get perhaps an insight into why these guys won out and why this guy's our ancestor.
I come from Egypt. Egypt has a very diverse color palette. People can look like me or they can look deeper skin tone like Anwar Sadat, who comes from a Nubian origin. It's not about black and white. It's about the continuous culture appropriation and falsification of history that has been done by what the so-called Afrocentrist movement.
Listen carefully. Do not confuse modern Egypt with ancient Egypt. These are two totally different worlds. Here we are in America, and it would be very difficult to find an American in this room. We call ourselves Americans because we are in America. We are American citizens. But there are African people here, European people perhaps, Asian people, but no Americans. I am part American, I am part Makusi Indian, and part African, but it would be difficult to find an American audience that is pure American. That's why Egypt, do you go to Egypt and you said the Arab is not an Egyptian? The people who built the pyramids were not Arabs. I know, man, because I am responsible for returning to the bloody Arabs the splinters of the Sphinx's nose and chin, and the Arabs do not want to remake it because it looks Negro. But we can go into the graves. We can go into the graves and we find the hard evidence. The skeletal evidence is overwhelming. But you see, Egypt was so rich. The Africans were so extraordinary. And they were not superior people. You don't have inferior and superior people. This is what makes you superior and inferior. A certain vision of the world. A certain vision of yourself. Many of us have been destroyed. Reduced. Because we've been made to accept other people's vision of us.
Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, I can't laugh. If you repeat this fact, you can't laugh.
I want to say peace and blessings to you guys. Hope and pray all is well with you guys. I want to apologize for the lateness of this live. I want to apologize for pushing the time back. Had a lot going on today. Actually didn't get a chance to really get situated. I didn't get home until, probably around 8:30. Then of course had to throw salt down just to make, just to minimize the impact of the snow in the driveway and all that stuff. You guys know how that goes. So I didn't really get a chance to really get settled in until I want to say about 9-ish. And so I started working on the clips, and a couple of the clips took longer than anticipated for what we're going to cover tonight. And so, again, I want to say peace and blessings to you guys. Hope and pray that you guys had a blessed Shabbat. Hope and pray that you guys did not, not caught out there in terms of with the weather. Hope and pray that you have the provisions that is needed without going over the top like how many people is, they're just going way over the top. I mean, down in, I'm in Virginia, so Virginia and southern, a lot of southern states, the people just go ballistic. I mean, you go to the supermarkets, shelves are cleared. Not the healthy stuff. The sheer. You'll see oatmeal. I'm not referring to those little packs of instant oatmeal. I'm talking about the real deal oatmeal. You guys know what I'm talking about. That you had to really. That's in the big box. That with the Quaker Oats. You see plenty of those. The healthy stuff on the shelves. But a lot of the junk food stuff and all of that. I mean, shelves are empty. But we already know, as the people of the Most High, we have to be prepared for times like this, whether things are going good or going bad. So hope and pray that you guys have the provisions. Hope and pray that you guys are safe. Hope and pray that your house, your home, if you're in some of the areas that are really this cold air is hitting, I pray that you guys have the proper provisions. I pray that you have the heat and things along that line, right? So again, got a lot to cover tonight, and again, my apologies for the delay. And we're gonna go through a couple of video clips here, and I want to get you guys, thoughts on what you see, because again, regardless of how we look at it, it seems like no matter what group it is, all of them are participating in an identity theft. Let me say that again. All of them are participating in an identity theft. Whether it's Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism, Islam, all of them are participating in an identity theft. Now, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the guy that's on the screen, iShowSpeed, young guy, doing a lot. Channel is, from what I understand, is over 50 million subscribers. That is huge. You know what I mean? Many of us trying to even get to not 50,000, 50 million, excuse me, but that is huge. And many of us struggling just to get to a fraction of what he's able to accomplish at a very young age. I mean, I think he's like 21 years old, just turned 21, and he caused a lot of commotion, major stir with the whole situation. And actually, it's not even the situation. A tour. He's going on a tour through different places in Africa, and a lot of people that are not familiar with Africa, they are getting a completely different Africa than what the propaganda machine has put on the television screens. Giving this impression that the continent of Africa is a third world continent, that that there's no modern, so to speak, technology, cities, and things along that line. So he's been taking a tour through the entire continent. He got a rude of awakening when he went to Algeria. Some of the things he had to deal with out there. But one of the things that really caught my attention was his tour to Egypt. And I'm going to go ahead and play that again. Matter of fact, let me see if it's, I believe I have it inside this PowerPoint here. All right. So one of the questions we're going to ask, what did the ancient Egyptians look like? What did the ancient Egyptians look like? What did the ancient Egyptians look like? What happened to their noses, right? What happened to their noses? This is a question that he asked about two of the statues in Egypt at two different locations. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to, go ahead and stretch the screen out. All right. So that way you guys can see this. And I want to start with the first clip. Let me make sure this is the right clip. But I want to start with this first clip because I want you guys to type in your observation and how, just the answer when you got the answers to the, but matter of fact, let's go through it. Let me play it first and then you guys can tell me what you guys think. Share your thoughts. Here we go. And let me know if you guys can hear this. All right.
The Sphinx. Wait, what happened to her nose? What happened to her nose? Why is her nose cut off?
That's why we added recently a new layer of limestone.
Did it fall off, Chad?
Everyone ask me when you just come here why Sphinx is without nose. It's famous from Egypt and some countries. The history of man Makrizi from Islamic era, right inside his book and say, a man his name Sa'im al-Dahr do this. But why? Why Sa'im al-Dahr do this? Because he won't be proof. For some people, this is just a statue, just stone, not God. For this, he just broke a nose and say he can protect himself. What he do? He just a stone.
Oh, so he was trying to prove that the statue was not a god.
Not a god.
So he broke the nose.
All right. So you guys heard it. The tour guide said that his nose, the nose of the Sphinx was taken off because to prove that they're not gods. All right. Now, how does that sound? Does that sound kind of weak to you guys? Did it look like he was really iShowSpeed? Do it really look like he was impressed with that answer? Let me play it one more time so you guys can tell me what you think. For me, it doesn't look like he's really convinced with that answer. He really doesn't look sold with that answer. So let me play it again. You guys can tell me what you think. Let me go ahead and play it again.
The Sphinx. Wait, what happened to her nose? What happened to her nose? Why is her nose cut off?
That's why we added recently a new layer of limestone.
Did it fall off, Chad?
Everyone ask me when you just come here why Sphinx is without nose. It's famous from Egypt and some countries. The history of man Makrizi from Islamic era, right inside his book and say, a man his name Sa'im al-Dahr do this. But why? Why Sa'im al-Dahr do this? Because he won't be proof. For some people, it is just a statue, just stone, not God. For this, he just broke a nose and say he can protect himself. What he do? He just a stone.
Oh, so he was trying to prove that the statue was not a god.
Not a god.
So he broke the nose.
All right, guys. Does iShowSpeed really looks convinced with that answer that was given to him? Are you convinced by that answer? Let me go ahead and post this poll here. Let me ask you guys the question. You guys can vote on it. All right. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and post this here. Does iShowSpeed look convinced with the answer he received? All right, let me go ahead and post this here. You guys can tell me what you think. All right. All right, tell me what you guys think. Let's see if we could get, right now we have over 100 likes, which is good. We want to, let's see if we could get before the night is over, see if we could get at least 300 likes. And even with the poll, let's see if we could get at least 100 votes, so that way we can really get a more of an accurate sample size. So the question is, does iShowSpeed look convinced with the answer received? Do you really look convinced? Even with you guys, was that a really convincing answer that the reason why the nose is missing on the Sphinx is because it was taken off by to prove that they are not gods, they are not deities. All right, we had 73 votes. Let's get it to 100, and then we'll go ahead and close the poll. So we have 75 votes. Let's get it to 100 so we can get more of an accurate sample size. Was that a weak answer or what? Was it? I mean, that was very weak. I'm being honest with you. So what? I'm not going to try to sound. I don't want to have any influence on your input. But was that answer a strong answer? Was it a weak answer? Did he look, as far as iShowSpeed, as if he was really convinced with that answer, or yes or no? Yes or no? We had 90 votes. Let's get it to 100. We are almost there, and we're going to go to the next video. But was that answer a very weak answer? Did it sound convincing? Come on now. Do you guys understand? Did you guys really catch what he said? Did it really sound convincing that with the answer that was given to him? Let me see some of the comments here, and that way we could give some shout outs in the process of going through some of the comments. Let's see what you guys have said. Let me look at some of the comments that you guys have posted in the chat. So the chat is not going too fast, so I can go through some of these answers fairly quick. But let me try to scroll up so that way I can get to as high as I can without. Let's see here. Yeah, let's start with Lisa Gibson. Or actually, what now? Let's start with what now. Sounds like a lie. Okay. Lisa Gibson, of course not. He knew he lied. All right. Shout outs to you. Michael Joseph, he knows. Let's get another one. So far, it looks like you guys are on the same page with see it how I see it. Daily repentance, lies. Let's see here. Arthur Stewart, the nose would verify the statue is an African. So I guess you agree that it was not a convincing answer. All right. And again, Daily Repentance said very weak answer. Let's see who else do we have here. Scrolling down here. Shalom to you, Sister Monica. Appreciate the love and support. Hope you had a blessed Shabbat. Let's see what else we have. Thank you again for your post. Really appreciate it. Let's see here. KOS or COS said the math ain't math, and that's right. It's not math. The math is not mathing. Excuse me if I mispronounce your name, because all the letters is kind of jarbled together, so I can't make it out. So it looks like Soan Ya Bat Dawad or Dawid, excuse me. My apologies. But she says how they lie, so she sounds like she's with us. So for every last one of us is saying that it doesn't line up. The math is not math. And Note by Maverick Bourne. Who else do we have here? And Focus to See. So far, agrees as well. So let's see who else do we have here. Me Too. Never heard that one before. Absolutely, we hearing some new stuff here. All right, must be new, like you said. Trust me, iShowSpeed knows. Let's see here. Who else? Teresa Gibbons. I want to say peace and blessings to you. Says no, didn't sound convincing. Let's see here. What now? No. Reggie, I am King Henderson. Nope, not at all. Hey, we all on the same page here so far. Looks like it's unanimous. He knows it. In other words, he knows that something is wrong with that explanation. Pine Hill Productions in total agreement. So it didn't sound convincing. As my soul prosper, I didn't know the Sphinx was a female. Let's see here. Um, let's see here. Peace and blessings, Paul Israel. No, no. All right. What now? Not convinced at all. Let's see any more. Do we have any more here? Shout outs to No Wait, Please Don't. So far, every last one of us, if any one of us was on that tour and we received that answer, we probably would have the same look. Like, come on, dude, you trying to tell me that's what happened? You're saying that the nose was chopped off, was hacked, all because of, to prove that these people are not gods, not deities, rather, DW, I see, no. Get a couple more in. So far, this looks like it's unanimous, right? Let's see here. Yashai Hafir, sarcastically, even the gods need their noses. I understand, right? So far, all of us in agreement. It just sounds very suspect, right? Ivan David Took says that no. So far, we all are in agreement. So far, it's unanimous. So thus far. So let's take a look at the poll. Let me go to the poll and let's see what the poll says. How you guys voted. We received over 100 votes. Right now, showing 118 to be exact, and 98% says he really don't look convincing. Convinced about what was shared. Right. We have 2%. So on the sample side, if we go off of it, that's basically saying we have like 4 votes. For those that say he looks convinced, he looks like he's satisfied with that answer, and the majority, the rest, are not impressed. Say he doesn't look impressed. So let's go to another clip here. Let's play it. Here it is. Now let me pause it again. Let me make sure that I have the video playing, the audio playing. Here we go. All right, let's see. Come on, mouse.
Wait, I have a question. Why is his nose gone?
We have two reasons. The first one, because the erosion factors. This is the weakness point of the statue. Because erosion factors, it's broke the nose. And maybe the second reason, because any king come before, after this king, tried to broke his nose to be the strongest one.
Oh. So this is the ego thing, huh?
Yes. What do you think?
What do I
Egyptian
think?
Egyptian or not?
Am I Egyptian?
The two biggest statues. They are Egyptian or not?
Are they Egyptian?
All right. So the first guy says that the reason why their noses were destroyed was to show that they're not deities, right? And now this tour guide inside the museum, the actual museum, gave 2 answers. Said that the nose is the weakest part of the statue. And so therefore the nose, that's one of the reasons why the nose is not there. Then she goes on to say that whenever a new pharaoh comes into power, the nose is removed. They remove the noses of everyone. Let's play it one more time, and tell me, did you guys hear not just 2 stories? You heard 3 stories. The math is not mathing. Did he look convincing? And I believe the reason why he did that, because he has a large audience, and just so that way people can hear, his viewers can hear the different stories that are being said. What do you guys think? You think that was he purposely asked a question and then asked a question to another person, another guide, tour guide, in a different setting, just to see if they are going to be consistent with their answer. So let's play that again. Let's play the question with him interacting with the tour guide in the museum. Let's play that again.
Wait, I have a question. Why is his nose gone?
We have two reasons. First one, because the erosion factors, this is the weakness point of the statue. Because erosion factors, it's broke, and maybe the second reason, because any king before after this king tried to broke his nose to be the strongest.
Oh. So this is the ego thing. Huh?
What do you think?
What do I think? Am I Egyptian?
The two biggest statues. They are Egyptian or not?
Are they Egyptian?
All right, so let me ask this next question here. All right, let's see here. All right. All right. So here's another question for you guys. Are you satisfied with the second tour guide's answer? Here we go. Are you satisfied with the second tour guide's answer? So the first tour guide said that, and let me play it again. Let me play it again just so that way you guys can listen to what he says. And then we'll play the second one, so that way you can come up with your own conclusion. You can vote accordingly. For those that are just chiming in, I'm going to play the first video again, and then we'll follow by it. The first video followed by the second video. Here we go.
The Sphinx. Wait, why happened to her nose? Why happened to her nose? Why is her nose cut off?
That's why we added recently a new layer of limestone.
Did it fall off, chat?
Everyone ask me when you just come in here why Sphinx without nose. It's famous from Egypt and some countries. The history of man Makrizi from Islamic era. Right inside his book and say, a man his name Sa'im al-Dahr do this. But why? Why Sa'im al-Dahr do this? Because he won't be proof. For some people, it is just a statue, just stone, not God. For this, he just broke a nose and say he can protect himself. What he do? He just a stone.
Oh, so he was trying to prove that the statue was not a god.
Not a god.
So he broke the nose. Mm-hmm. Wait, I have a question. Why is his nose gone?
We have two reasons. First one, because the erosion factors, this is the weakness point of the statue. Because erosion factors, it's broke, and maybe the second reason, because any king after this king tried to broke his nose to be the strongest.
Oh. So just the ego thing, huh?
What do you think?
What do I think? Am I Egyptian?
The two biggest statues. They are Egyptian or not?
Are they Egyptian?
Well, you guys say you heard an echo. Oh man, I'm sorry. My apologies. I keep forgetting. Let me try it again. My apologies, guys. I got to be more conscientious of that. Let me do this again. It's not with Google Chrome. They have this setting that whenever you play videos through StreamYard, you have to mute it out if on your presentation that you're sharing, especially if you're sharing with audio. So my apologies for the echo. Let's try this one more time without the echo. My apologies. Again, I want to stress that I'll make it a point to pay attention to that setting. So I'm going to play it again. My apologies for you guys for having to listen to that with the echoes, the echo and all. I know exactly what's causing the problem. So here we go. I'm muting out the PowerPoint presentation, and I'm going to play it again one last time.
The Sphinx. Wait, what happened to her nose? What happened to her nose? Why is her nose cut off?
That's why we added recently a new layer of limestone.
Did it fall off, Chad?
Everyone asks me when you just come in here why Sphinx without nose. It's famous from Egypt and some countries. The history of man Makrizi from Islamic era. Write inside his book and say, a man his name Sa'im al-Dahr do this. But why? Why Sa'im al-Dahr do this? Because he won't be proof. For some people, it is just a statue, just stone, not God. For this, he just broke a nose and say he can protect himself. What he do? He just a stone.
Oh, so you're trying to prove that the statue is not a god?
Not a god.
So he broke the nose. Wait, I have a question. Why is his nose gone?
We have two reasons. The first one, because the erosion factors. This is the weakness point of the statue. Because erosion factors, it's broke the nose. And maybe the second reason, because any king after this king, tried to broke his nose to be the strongest one.
Oh. So just the ego thing, huh?
Yes. What do you think?
What do
They
I
are
think?
Egyptian or not?
Am I Egyptian?
The two biggest statues. They are Egyptian or not?
Are they Egyptian?
All right. So are you guys satisfied with the second tour guide's answer? And did it look like he was convinced? You know, did he look convinced, like he was really convinced with the answer that she gave? Or did it sound like he was just, just playing, I would say, playing dumb? You know, what do you guys think? So far, we have over 108. Well, we hit 108 now, but we have over 100 votes here. And so far, based off of the 100 plus votes, 97% of you guys said that you are not satisfied with the answer, and 3% said you are satisfied with the answer. All right. So that's roughly, that's 3%, right? So 3%, we're looking at about 4 to 5 votes, right? So the majority of you guys said you are not convinced with that answer, and kind of like that weakest link. You are the weakest link. That's kind of like how when you look at it and and you think about the way that she responded, it's like the weakest link type thing. You know what I mean? It's not impressive. Let's get a couple of responses here. Let's see here. Erosion stopped at the nose. You know what I mean? There you go. You hit it, right? I like that answer, man. Erosion stopped at the nose. Everything else, right, is good, but the nose. But it wasn't just the nose in many of the statues. You'll see many of the statues, the nose and the lips, right? And it's a number, one of the other stories that you don't hear about is Napoleon. I didn't have a chance to put that source here. I was trying to find one of my old presentations, years ago, because I did something on that and had some images of the old drawings of the Sphinx. But nevertheless, but some of, another one of the stories that you hear outside of these 3 explanations is that Napoleon, he and his group traveled to Egypt and didn't like what they see. They didn't like what they saw in terms of, the culture there and the civilization that was well advanced, and superseded his. But it's, that Napoleon, his soldiers used the statues and the figures as target practice. I mean, you even have smaller statues that are much smaller than this, and the nose are missing. The eyes and nose, not eyes, but the nose and the lips are missing. All right. So erosion stopped at the nose. Exactly. Stopped at the nose. All right. Let's see here. Daily Repentance said stranger danger. Yaquaba said, yet the toes are preserved. All right, let's see here. And the ears. No wait, please don't. No. Hey, I'm with you. Let's see here. Bert ran cherubim. No, no. All right. You know, Septuagint, Maccabees, that laugh she gave, full of jittery nerves. Yeah, yeah, you guys are catching it. Sound like those Republican cover-ups, man. These guys, man, you guys are giving them the business tonight. Let's see here. What now? No. Someone else posted in focus to see. She's lying. Monica Curry, not at all. Definitely didn't sound convincing. Enoch to Revelation. On the second hand, her answer was closer to the truth. Nah, it wasn't even close. It wasn't even in the vicinity. I'm just being real with you. It wasn't in the vicinity. Previous pharaohs didn't do that. They didn't do that. They didn't damage the images of a previous pharaoh. I didn't find any writings on that. It was, either it's the truth or it's not the truth. It can be closer to the truth. That's like saying it's poison. It's not poison, but it's close to poison. No, either she's telling the truth or she's telling a lie. Either you believe that she's telling the truth, then you select she's telling the truth. If you believe she wasn't convincing, then you select not convincing. Are you guys in agreement with that? Enoch to Revelations tried to take the gray area approach, tried to get into the lukewarm. So y'all give Enoch to Revelation the business because of trying to straddle the fence instead of giving a definitive answer. We're coming at you, Enoch to Revelation. This is all out of fun and games. I just want to make that clear. All right, but give Enoch to Revelations the business because he or she, because I can't tell the gender from his post, but he's making it clear that he's straddling the fence. Get him out of that gray area, family. He got to give an answer. All you guys gave an exact answer. We're not gonna let Enoch to Revelation get away with it. All right. Let's see what else here. Walk in testimony. Confusion is not of the Most High. Absolutely. Not the author of confusion. Absolutely. Let's see here. Playing dumb. A couple more, then we'll continue on here. My sticky note thoughts. She forgot how to say the lie in English and started stuttering. You guys are giving them the business. The tour guys are having a lying contest. Absolutely. Let's see what else here. He knows what's going on. His dad educated him. He's tapped in. I believe that too. But you could just listen, and he knows that he has a huge following. So the way he asks those questions, you could tell that he's trying to let the people that's following him, his watchers, or his viewers rather, to be able to listen and hear conflicting answers. Again, she gave two answers. So total, in totality, just between the two of them, he received three answers. All right, a couple more. Let's see here. In conflict with the truth, absolutely. She didn't sound like she was convinced herself. Yeah, right. Right. She did sound like she was trying to give an answer, but she just knew it didn't even sound right. Korean Scholar, oh, you in the building. I'm gonna drop the link for you. I didn't know you was in the building. So let me go to drop the link if you want to jump on. Feel free to do so. I know I went a little later than anticipated, but like the old school would say, charge it to my head, not to my heart. All right. Let's see here. She was nervous, not close. Egyptian allergies, Korean Scholar. Sure was nervous, absolutely. Let's see. Let's get a couple more in. All right. Sounds like a fable. To me, that's right. She knows the real truth. Let's see here. All right. Excuse me for the lag here. Is with this browser here, unfortunately. All right. So let's let's scroll back over it. Yeah, someone give Enoch to Revelation the business. Enoch to Revelation with a name like that, you can't be on the fence. That's what I'm talking about. Give Enoch to Revelation the business. Either let your yea be yea, let your nay be nay. Guys, give Enoch to give him the business. Let's see if he changed his answer and gave more of a definitive answer. Whether we agree or not, guess what? An answer is an answer. You cannot be lukewarm. That's the word. All right. All right. Let me go ahead and bring Berean Scholar in, and then we're going to continue here. Shout outs, Berean Scholar. Shout outs to you, my brother.
Shadowon, brother. Shadowon. It's hard to be lukewarm tonight.
Absolutely. We're not letting anyone off with the lukewarm. You got to give definitive answers. And matter of fact, Berean Scholar, you may want to turn your mic down just a little bit because it sounds like it's hot. So what meaning it's a little distorted. Hopefully you get the package this week.
Is that better?
Let me hear you.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better.
Right,
much better. Good. All right. All right. So any thoughts before we continue?
I agree with you in your explanation. I do think that he was making them give those excuses of why the noses was missing, and I love the way he gave that pan look after he talked about the spink. Where you turn around and look like, yeah, okay, you're right.
Exactly. And it was like, yeah, he was just doing that so that way his viewers can just pay attention to what they're saying. So yeah, you could just tell that he wasn't really convinced with the answers. And family, shout outs to you guys. We have 138 participants in the last poll. So 98.5% said no, that you're not satisfied with her answer. 5% said that you are. So that's what about, I want to say about 6 to 7 no's, right? Compared to 130 yeses. All right. So you guys, you voted. Your vote holds the weight. You guys, all those that are in agreement, the majority win. Enoch, you probably got a few. Actually, you probably, if I had a not sure, you probably would be the only one with not sure, trying to straddle the fence. But we're going to keep it going. We're going to keep the momentum going. I'm going to leave this open, and then when I come to another point of asking a question, family, feel free, participate. Get those thumbs up, share the video. If you are subscribed, double check to make sure that you are still subscribed. All right. And I can't remember. Yeah, I think it's called Hype. YouTube has this new feature. They have the thumbs up as far as the like button. They also have, of course, the impressions are dependent on your participation in the chat as well as the comment section. But then they also have this new thing called Hype Up or whatever. Click on that at the conclusion of this video and get those hype up, along with the thumbs up. But again, make it a point to do that for us. It doesn't cost anything to do that. All right. So appreciate the love and support. All right. Berean Scholar, any other comments before we continue?
Let's get into it.
All right. So the question, family, why are they giving conflicting stories? Why are they giving conflicting stories? We're going to answer these. We're going to answer a lot of questions tonight. Let me play another video here. All right. Let me unmute my PowerPoint. Let me play this video here.
I come from Egypt. Egypt has a very diverse color palette. People can look like me or they can look deeper skin tone like Anwar Sadat, who comes from a Nubian origin. It's not about black and white. It's about the continuous culture appropriation and falsification of history that has been done by what the so-called Afrocentrist movement.
So you have this guy. I thought I had more of the interview here because he's saying that basically saying that Kevin Hart, because it started with Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart made reference to blacks building, being original Egyptians and building the structures there as well. And this guy, Bashar Muhammad, was on Pierce Morgan having a discussion there. And as you heard, he accused some of our people, or should I say, let's just say blacks, because I know that I'm not an Egyptian. I know that I'm an Israelite, and that's no disrespect to those that are claiming the Egyptian culture. So no shame to that. But he stated that Kevin Hart and any other people, in terms of from our community, that are claiming and pointing out that the blacks, so to speak, just for the sake of conversation, are actually stealing the identity of his. You can't make this up, family. And you have now the commander-in-chief of this country saying that it's the white man that's the victim of racism. You cannot make this stuff up. Sound like we're in an episode of the Twilight Zone.
Exactly.
I'm serious, guys. I'm going to win a lawsuit for purchasing a donut that have a hole in it. I'm going to win a lawsuit with that. What do you think, Berean Scholar? Think I could win?
They did tell me it was a whole donut, right? But it does have a hole in it, so it's defective.
So I'm going to file a lawsuit that, hey, I did not anticipate on my donut having a hole in it.
You pay for the whole donut.
So, but anyway, family, just having a little humor here. So, again, makes absolutely no sense. But let's shut this down, right? Did the Arabs actually build the pyramids? We know they didn't. Are the Negroes actually stealing the identity of the modern Egyptians? Come on, family. Come on, family.
Listen carefully. Do not confuse modern Egypt with ancient Egypt. These are two totally different worlds. Here we are in America, and it would be very difficult to find an American in this room. We call ourselves Americans because we are in America. We are American citizens. But there are African people here, European people perhaps, Asian people, but no Americans. I am part American, I am part Makusi Indian and part African, but it would be difficult to find an American audience that is pure American. That's why Egypt, do you go to Egypt and you said the Arab is not an Egyptian? The people who built the pyramids were not Arabs. I know, man, because I am responsible for returning to the bloody Arabs the splinters of the Sphinx's nose and chin, and the Arabs do not want to remake it because it looks Negro. But we can go into the graves. We can go into the graves and we find the hard evidence. The skeletal evidence is overwhelming. But you see, Egypt was so rich. The Africans were so extraordinary. And they were not superior people. You don't have inferior and superior people. This is what makes you superior and inferior. A certain vision of the world. A certain vision of yourself. Many of us have been destroyed. Yes. Reduced. Because we've been made to accept other people's vision of us.
Dr. Sertima, he shut it down.
Yes, he did.
And it's a great book, family. They came before Columbus. It's a great book. I have that book, and I lent it out a couple of times. I ended up having to buy new books because every time I lent it out, for some reason, I don't get it back. So I was able to get me another one, but it's a great book. I encourage you guys to purchase that book because you know what happens. They jack up the prices of them. So, and I think that book now you could get it for about 50 to 60 bucks, but they're constantly raising the prices on these books. All right, but it's a great book. But his entire lecture is off the chain. His entire lecture is off the chain. All right. So let's go to another video here, right? This video here is a video. I'm not going to play the whole video. I wasn't able to upload it because the length of it is like almost 10 minutes in length. But you guys remember when I played a video about the 1925 Hebrews, right? Their appearance, an old video clip showing that the Israelites in Israel did not look like the 1948ers. The majority of them looked like you and I, right? So let's play a clip, some of this clip, and this is the Egyptians, right? Now, this is doing a comparison of the ancient Egyptians with the modern Egyptians as of 1925. Let's see what it. Let's do a view of this. You know, let you guys tell me what you think about what you observe. All right, here it is. Fair use. Fair use. Want to make sure that I say that a few times. Fair use. All right, guys, we're gonna stop it right there. All right. Didn't want to show the whole video because, like I said, it's like 8 minutes in length in its entirety. But I just wanted to give you a glimpse. Now, just to go further with this, for many of you guys that may not be familiar with not just Egypt, but that whole so-called label Middle East. Middle East is a European construct. The Fertile Crest is a Middle East, it's a European construct, including the Levant is a European construct, right? That's just another example of them dividing that entire area and placing labels over it to remove it further away from the continent of Africa. That's the whole reason why you have those different terms. Levant is Africa. The Middle East is Africa. And the Fertile Crest is actually part of Africa. All of that is part of Africa. But the way that we've been taught, especially when you start dealing with these racist anthropologists, and you start getting into these different what I want to use the term. You start getting into geography, and you start getting into the cartographers and all of that. They literally or should I say, appropriated history into their possession. Look, family, all you have to do is just do your homework. The first time you see the Levant, the usage of the term Levant, it's like the 15th century, 16th century. The first time you see the usage of Middle East and the Middle East as well as the Fertile Crest, now you're getting into like the 20th century, like 1903, 1906 timeline. Come on, family. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. Right? So the key to erasing an identity of a nation, you have to change the identity of all the other nations that are known to have somewhat of a relationship with them, whether it's good or bad. So they can't just hijack the identity of the Israelites. They have to, all the nations that's associated with the Israelites, that's, like the Babylonians, the Assyrians, they have to change it. The Egyptians, they have to change their appearance to make it so that way, if they say that the Israelites were Europeans, they're going to say the same thing about all the countries that are connected with them, especially when you read scripture. Now, right now they're trying to make it so like the 1948ers are a diverse, right? Like a diverse group, like this is where you hear the term saying that they're multicultural, multi-ethnic. Come on, family. That's another way of just trying to explain the variations of them. They go from they look like the area that they, so to speak, occupy. This is why you have Asian 1948ers. You have German 1948ers. You have Sephardic 1948ers. You have them, and I have, if I have enough time, I'll go over and explain what genetic distances is, so that way you can see exactly how that operates. So they come up with all these so-called formulas, all these different DNA stuff to justify or try to explain themselves. I'm gonna say this here, Kevin Dolan, don't post any more of this inside the chat. Don't bring any Trump stuff or any type of election stuff over here.
Make it
all right. I don't support Donald Trump. I don't support any Democrats. I don't care about the Democrats or Republicans. Next time you troll in here with that, you're blocked. Moderators, if you see anyone bringing any of that stuff over to here, block them. Moving forward. You got the warning. So if you post another one of those comments, you're out. All right. I could care less about this commander and thief. All right. But anyway, so family, let's go ahead and give some context. I like to go over history and give you scripture to go along with that. Shout outs to Stay on Fire Ministry. Keep doing your thing. I've been paying attention to all what you and your wife is doing. Family doing a lot from a media marketing standpoint. They're doing a lot out of Tennessee. If you're looking for marketing, reach out to him. He's in the building. Stay on Fire Ministry. That's the name of his ministry, but you also have a business. So I just want to give him a plug. All right. Shout outs to you. All right. So biblical foundations. Let's start with Exodus chapter 1, verse 11 through 14. Let's just start painting, just give me some context here. Let's start with the Israelites, right? We have to start with the Israelites. And why am I starting with the Israelites? Because most of you guys are watching this have come to understand the understanding that you are connected to the ancient Israelites, not by way of conversion, right? We already did. I mean, last week, for those that are joining for the first time, I encourage you to go back and watch the last two lives. The one that we did, was it last Shabbat, Berean Scholar? Yeah, the one that we did last Shabbat. And then the very next day, did a follow-up video to really get straight to the point and share even more resources, right? Receipt after receipt after receipt after receipt, showing you with documentation how that term Sephardic is a deceptive term. It's not an ancient term. It's a 8th, 9th century term that was created. You would not find any other references prior to the 8th, 9th century. And it was created by the 1948ers, better known as the Ashkenazi Jews. All right. So here you guys probably hear me say 1948ers. That's because of Facebook. So came up with that name, came up with that label, 1948ers. Okay. But anyway, we have to start with identifying the true ancient Israelites. Let's do this. Let's start with Exodus chapter 1, verse 11. Therefore, they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. Let me read it again. Therefore, they did set over them taskmasters. Taskmasters. That's the ice. I meant taskmasters. Ma Sayam, to afflict Anath, them with their burdens, Sabalah. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. Now, notice you won't see the word pyramid. I want to make sure you guys read this with accuracy. Not saying that we didn't have any hands-on building the pyramids, but here you see cities. So this includes whatever's in that city. This is not just saying a pyramid. All right. So I just want to place the point of emphasis on that. But it goes on here and say, but the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. Let me read it again. But the more they afflicted Anath them, the more they multiplied, Rabbah, and grew, Parat, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. Verse 13, and the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve Abad with rigor, Parak, not Parak, I'm saying, I'm about to apologize. No, that's correct. Looking at it quick and it just glancing at it looks like, I mispronounced this, but it's not. This is the Resh or the Ra'ash. So my apologies. I thought I looked at it wrong, right? But Parak, right? And as you can look at it from a glance, it almost looked like the Bayath right here. So that's why when I looked at it, glanced, I thought I mispronounced it. But anyway, Parak. Let me read it again. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve Abad with rigor. Parak. And they made their lives bitter, marar, or marara, with hard, quasha, bondage, abada, in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service, abada, in the field, all their services, abada, wherewith they made them serve was with rigor, parak, okay? I want to go to this source here, right? Because you're going to see two things here. You're going to see the depiction of ancient Israelites, and you're going to see the depiction of the ancient Egyptians. And we're going to let the sources speak. What do you think, Berean scholars? Should we let the sources speak for themselves, or do we need to, do like what the others do, try to force our opinions over? Should we just let the sources speak?
Opinions don't matter. Let the facts speak. Let everybody else weigh it out.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and let's pull this source out. Picture history of Jewish civilization. Bezel Narcus. All right, but let's see what they say aside here, right? And you're going to see some interesting pictures here. Let's go to page 9, and this is from page 9. I'm going to highlight this area here. The Hebrews in the biblical period. The ancestors of the ancient Hebrews were Semitic nomads, wandering across the sun-baked plains or the upper Euphrates. Now, family, I will say this, and I'm not saying this to brag, but we woke now here. Our research game is very thorough, right, Berean scholar?
Yes, indeed.
We're very thorough, right? We go to sources,
verified sources.
Let's read this again. And as he said, Berean scholar, verified sources. It says here, the Hebrews in the biblical period. The ancestors of the ancient Hebrews were Semitic nomads, wandering across the sun-baked plains or the upper Euphrates in the vicinity of Haran in search of grazing lands and waters. Water singular. But they were not alone. Other peoples seeking similar means of substance, as well as men who lived by the sword, forced them farther and fanned her away from their original terrain in what is now north central Syria. The relentless struggle for survival in the land of the two rivers, Mesopotamia, thrust them far to the south. Eventually, they came in sight of the great city of Ur of the Chaldees, 550 miles southeast of Haran. All right. Now let's skip over to page 12. All right. This is the caption here. And it reads, and notice the images that you see here, right? Before we read the captions. Do these look like, this guy, the Muhammad guy, Muhammad Basar Muhammad? Does it look like this guy? Let me play the guy that said that, his identity is being stolen by melanated people, dark melanated people. Let's play this again.
I come from Egypt. Egypt has a very diverse color palette. People can look like me or they can look deeper skin tone like Anwar Sadat, who comes from a Nubian origin. It's not about black and white. It's about the continuous culture appropriation and falsification of history that has been done by what the so-called Afrocentrist movement.
Now, these images up here, right? That doesn't look like him, nor does it look like, let me see if I have another video up here I can play. Let's see here. Let's see here. I think I took him down. But let's put an image up here anyway, right? This is dealing with, where is it? I'll play this right here. This is Shapiro making it clear that being a Jew per se is a religion, converted to a religion, right? And tell me if he looks like any of these images that's on the screen. Let me play him real quick.
You can convert to Judaism. You can't convert to a blood family. You cannot convert to a race. Judaism is a religion. That's all it is. Judaism is a religion. That's all it is.
Judaism is a religion. That's all it is.
All right, family. Now, do he look anything like these images that you see here? Because the caption below says that I'm going to read here that's highlighted, the thousands of war captives who were transformed into slaves made it possible for the Egyptian king to implement their feats of engineering. And remember, this is dealing with the appearance of the Israelites. Want to make sure you guys understand that. But let me zoom in just so that way you guys can really get a full idea of this caption here. Where is it? And what it's saying here. Let me zoom in. All right, I want you guys to pay attention to that image. And let me see if I can find another. These are two debating here, right? You're going to see two 1948ers in this particular clip on how they sat down to create a language. Because family, we've been teaching for 10 plus years that identity is what? Land, family, and tongues. That is what the pillars of what constitutes a nation of being a nation. And listen to what he says, because a lot of people think that language is not important. But listen to what he says, and both of them are part of the 1948ers. Here we go.
That's what the Zionists did, except instead of a baseball team, they went to try to convince the Jews that the Jewish people are a nation, like France and like Spain. We'll get a land, that's Israel, that's our stadium. We'll get baseball bats and balls, we'll create a language. They sat down to create a language because nations need languages. They sat down to create a language because nations need languages. They sat down to create a language. They sat down to create a language.
They sat down to create a language.
All right, let me play one more clip. This is basically a protest that's taking place, almost a riot in Israel, using the word Cushi as a curse word, because a person of color, dark melanated brother, married one of their people, a woman from their community. And look at what they say. It's going to, read the captions. But tell me if those guys that are arguing with, trying to, that are threatening this guy, tell me if any of them look like these images right here. Here it is.
את עם קושי לנסוע! את תסוע עם קושי! לכי את והוא! תלכי מפה! תלכי! את תסוע עם קושי! לכי! לא מתביישת!
Now that gets up under my skin when I see every time I play that video, and I got the full length video of the racism that's over there. But anyway, Anyone in that crowd outside of the person that they're confronting look like these two images on your screen?
Not
What do you
really.
think, family? Do they look like they're even in the vicinity? All right, let's continue. Let's continue. All right. And now this part is highlighting chained captives are shown on these painted clay facing plaques from a building erected by Ramses. So it's explaining this image, but it's also explaining another image. Let's go to this right here, right? And we're going to highlight that, right? Let me make sure that you guys understand what's going on here. So it's explaining this next part of the caption. Let me go back here. So now this part of the caption, like these two highlights this part, right, of the caption, right? Now when we get to the second part of this caption, as well as here, it's explaining these two images, all right, below. And let's see what it says here. The upper row of the painting from the tomb of Not in Thebes or Thebes shows workmen gathering and pressing grapes. The wine was stored in tapered jugs, which bore inscriptions indicating the year, kind of wine, vineyard, proprietor of the vineyard, and the vine dresser. The bottom row shows a hunter with a snare, right? So this is what you see at the bottom. But look at what it says here on the next page, right? Opposite page model of a granary. Actually, I'll just read it. Let me pull it out here. Model of a granary. Taxes were paid and produced, and the wheat collected in this way was stored in a state granaries scattered throughout Egypt. At the right, the taskmaster, stick in hand, stands over the people to supervise their work. At the lower right, a clerk records the number of sacks of wheat being stored in the granary. National Museum, Copenhagen. Let's take a look at that. This is what it's describing here. Now, family, tell me if this looks like any of the video clips that I shared. Let's zoom it in. Let's zoom it in. Let's zoom it in. Let's tell me what you guys think. Right? This is the taskmaster. These are all the slaves right here. Let me, right? These are all the slaves. This is the taskmaster, and this is someone that's taking notes and taking count. Do they look like any of those guys in the video clips? Let me show you one more clip. This is a clip of Candace Owens having a heated discussion with Rabbi Shmuley. Tell me if Rabbi Shmuley, he's going to be the one that's all the way over to the right. Tell me if he looked like anyone or in the vicinity of anyone in this image here. So again, this is the Egyptians as well as the Israelites. These are the Israelites, right? These are the Israelites, but these are the Egyptians. Let me play this clip here and tell me what you think. I may play another clip afterwards.
Here's what I would like to say to you, Rabbi, since you're quoting scripture, okay? The one that's relevant to me is woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness. And if you'd like to dive into a little more scripture, I think what's relevant is Revelation 3:9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. And I'm speaking directly to you, Rabbi Shmuley.
All right. Do Rabbi Shmuley look like any of the guys, any of the images that you see and that I've just shown you just since we've been doing this live, since this I've been going into this source right here? Do Rabbi Shmuley have any resemblance? And I know some would say it's not about skin and all this other stuff. Say that to the people that have a white Jesus. Say that to the people that have an image of the Father with his hand looking like a Caucasian. Say that about all these movies that we see, like David and all of that. Who do they look like? Anyone but the Negroes. Now, the good thing about us, we come in all shades of darkness. That's why I don't even like using the term black, because we come in all shades of being dark, melanated. Anyway, let me show you another clip, right? Let me see here, a clip that I was going. Tell me if these two guys, right? Well, this guy that's talking to this pastor on the left of your screen. Let's see if he looks like anyone in any of the images I shared thus far. Let's see.
And you know what else, Jim? I just want to say this to our Christian friends, you know, just to call it as it is and say it straight out. You know, you guys are worshiping one Jew. That's a mistake. You should be worshiping every single one of us, because we all die for your sins every single day. And that's exactly what's going on here. Yeah. We're all God's firstborn, and we're dying for your sins right now because the Jewish people in the land of Israel are the bulwark against the orcs. Mm-hmm. Okay? The orcs are coming not to a theater near you, but to your home.
Okay, let me give you one more, guys. Let me give you one more. This is Berean Scholar's favorite person right here. Let me give you one more.
You say, well, where did the name Ashkenazi came from? So, a little over 1,000 years ago, as Jewish people scattered around the world had now emigrated in Europe and now were living in the Rhineland in Germany, they looked at the name Gomer in Genesis 10, and they connected Gomer with Germany, so they took on the identity of the name Ashkenaz. It has nothing to do with Ashkenaz in the Bible, which is a descendant of Japhet. It's just a name that was taken. Okay, it's that simple. Just like my last name Brown doesn't refer to the color of my skin. Just like my last name Brown doesn't refer to the color of my skin.
Just like my last name Brown doesn't refer to the color of my skin.
Michael Brown, I am Caucasian. Just like my last name Brown doesn't refer to the color of my skin or anything else. It was shortened from a Russian name when my grandfather came over at Ellis Island. The name got shortened to Brown. It's just a name. That's all it is. So the idea that Ashkenazi Jews are descended from Japhet is a myth, 100% false, zero truth to it. Just study the history.
Stranger danger! Stranger danger! Stranger danger! Stranger danger!
Berean Scholar, any thoughts?
He fumbles all over himself telling that fib. He fumbles all over himself. Yeah, I mean, he can't even get the story out straight. I mean, they come out and say that what he said, it's hilarious. He's like I said, he's a gift that keeps on giving.
I tell you, man, you can't make that stuff up, right?
You cannot.
And Dr. Brown is the gift that continues to give, right? Terrible guy, you know, in terms of, well, he's terrible as it is, man. He did some crazy stuff, man. I'm not even gonna get in touch on it, but you know, the typical things that you see in a lot of these places of leadership, taking advantage of young girls. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, but see, right? Here, what we have here, Pastor, you have people who call themselves scholars, call themselves authoritative, and they tell you these so-called their facts, but yet you're given these books that have been written down. You can find these books in college library. They've been verified. It shows you pictures, carving. They portrayed themselves, show you their color. Then you have books that show that you've given that shows evidence of who they are. Yet their story don't line up with the writings of the eyewitnesses is.
Exactly. You nailed it, man. You nailed it. I gotta come up with another clip, man. When you nail stuff like that, man, I got to come up with one. I thought I had one, but I'm gonna have to come up with one. You know, you hit it right on the nail. And family, this is sources that's out there. You know, and I know some of you guys asked me, hey, can you post a list of the sources, family? I'm not going to do that. That's just too much time. I already spent a lot of time doing all this research. Berean Scholar spent a lot of time doing this research. I am posting the sources on the screen. Just write it down. Pause the video and write it down. and then go to the sources. All right. It hits home. And then guess what? When you do that, it sinks in that much more. And you're going to appreciate it that much more because why? You sacrifice time and effort to obtain it. So once you do that, guess what? You're going to defend it that much more. All right, let's continue here. This, as you can see here, this is what it was describing here inside this book, the taskmasters. All right. Okay. All right. Here come another one. Let's read this caption here. The Egyptian became familiar with the horse and wagon victory, excuse me. Let me read it again. The Egyptian became familiar with the horse and wagon after the victory of the Hyksos. I always butcher it when I glance at it. But nevertheless, in the beginning of the long period from 1730 to 1580 BCE, in the rule of Asiatic peoples in the land of the pharaohs. This painting on a coffin shows Tutankhamun shooting his enemies from a war chariot from the tomb of Tutankhamun. Right now, look at here, or Tutankhamun. Tell me if this looks like Europeans. All right. Let me zoom in. I'm trying to zoom in. What do we see here?
Those are dark melanated people.
All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's continue. That's it. That's the image. And I had to brighten this image up. All right, family. All right, let's continue. Oh my goodness. What do y'all guys see here? What do you guys see here? Let's read the caption here. Motto of a bakery. Bread was a staple in Egypt. There were bakeries in which one man milled the flour, another kneaded, and a third brought the bread to the oven. The entire operation was directed by the man sitting in the rear. Let's do we need to zoom this in? Let's zoom it in. Let's see here. What do you guys think, family? These are the slaves, and this is the taskmaster. Which one look like, or do any of these look like Dr. Michael Brown or Rabbi Shmuley or Netanyahu or any of these 1948ers? Is this a sledgehammer? Is this a sledgehammer? If we put their image up here, we could go into that old, I think it was Sesame Street or Electric Company. One of these things do not belong here. One of these things are not the same. One of these things do not belong here. Now it's time to play our game. Y'all remember that?
Yes, indeed.
See, family, this is what we have to make sure and I'll play the clip again. We have to take heed to the warning, man, of the professor that I highlighted earlier on not allowing the modern people to define who we are. So let's listen to Dr. Sertima. Let's listen to him again and listen to it closely, because I think he already transitioned, right, Berean Scholar?
Yes.
All right.
Already
So listen to what he says.
Listen carefully. Do not confuse modern Egypt with ancient Egypt. These are two totally different worlds. Here we are in America, and it will be very difficult to find an American in this room. We call ourselves Americans because we are in America. We are American citizens. But there are African people here, European people perhaps, Asian people, but no Americans. I am part American, I am part Makusi Indian and part African, but it will be difficult to find an American audience that is pure American. That's why Egypt, do you go to Egypt and you said the Arab is not an Egyptian? The people who built the pyramids were not Arabs. I know, man, because I am responsible for returning to the bloody Arabs the splinters of the Sphinx's nose and chin, and the Arabs do not want to remake it because it looks Negro. But we can go into the graves. We can go into the graves and we find the hard evidence. The skeletal evidence is overwhelming. But you see, Egypt was so rich. The Africans were so extraordinary. And they were not superior people. You don't have inferior and superior people. This is what makes you superior and inferior. A certain vision of the world. A certain vision of yourself. Many of us have been destroyed. Reduced. Because we've been made to accept other people's vision of us.
So to be clear, right? Even the original Arabs, they're not the people you see today they are not the original Arabs.
Exactly.
Right? You have multiple Arabic invasions, and topple all of that off with the Ottoman Empire invasion. So what you see today are a Turkic people. That's what you see for the majority of them. And like, for example, the ancient, true descendants of the ancient Israelites, they were pushed, I'm not Israelites, but the Egyptians, they were pushed out of the land. Many of them were killed, murdered, and pushed deeper into Africa. So I want to make sure you guys understand that. The people that you see, the Turkish people that you see, they are descendants of Japheth. And you'll notice they all have that same spirit, that fierce spirit of Japheth. All of them have that same spirit: conquer, destroy, exploit. Berean Scholar, you was going to say something?
Two things. Number one, that audience, you can tell was a brother, man. Then when he said, when you heard him yell, "All right, now speak it." And the other thing is the writing that you shared. I think earlier that they state specifically that the ruling class after the invasion were different than the population, like any other place that had been colonized. That's
exactly.
Like,
and I have a couple of sources on that too. Go ahead. I'm sorry, my brother. I thought you was finished. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, my brother. I'm sorry for talking over you. I thought you was finished. My apologies. Like
obviously, I made a statement that it's like us stating that the Native Americans, the original indigenous America, was white, because that's what we see now.
Exactly. And so what I'm going to do, and I have some of the sources that you pointed out, a couple of sources that's in addition to this, when really dealing with that question of the ruling class being different from the actual people that they're ruling over. And that was one of the things, even when you look at the early, I think the first and second dynasty, they saw two different types of people, right? And when they really did the details on it, you'll see that the people that was ruling them was from Sumer. right? So it's a lot, right? So this is, we'll deal with that another time. But I do have a couple of sources that I believe in this presentation as well that's bringing that point home as well. All right, family. So again, you see the images here. We don't see this on a regular basis, do we? All right. You don't see this. But that's going back over here. It says here, the entire operation was directed by the man sitting in the rear. All right. Man sitting in the rear. They all look the same, right? Okay. Are there any Israelites mistaken for Egyptians? Absolutely, family. Joseph passed for an Egyptian. Let's go to Genesis 42, verse 6 through 8. Joseph was the governor over the land, and it was that sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came and bowed down themselves before him with their faces to the
earth. The population of the Palestine.
Verse 7. And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but he made himself strange unto them. He spake roughly unto them, and he said unto them, whence cometh ye? And they said, from the land of Canaan to buy food. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew him not, or knew not him, excuse me. So this is basically telling you that they just viewed him as just being a regular Egyptian. He looked just like the other Egyptians. They didn't recognize their own brother. Moses passed for an Egyptian. Exodus 2, chapter 2, verse 9 and 10. And Pharaoh's daughter took him unto her, take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, became her son, and she called his name Moses. And she said, because I drew him out of the water. When we look at the definition of Moses' name, his actual ancient Hebrew name is Masha. Moshe is an Israeli modern pronunciation. There was no O sounds. There was no A sounds. And when you go to that word in these different concordances, they're going to point you right to the primitive root word. The primitive root word is the original pronunciation of these words. So you see Masha, right? Do I have this clip here? I'm gonna play this clip real quick because whenever I say this, I want to play the clip because some of our brothers and sisters, when I say that, they kind of, get bent out of shape as if I'm making this stuff up. There was no O sounds in ancient Hebrew. There was no U sounds in ancient Hebrew. So let me allow you guys to hear a professor who's teaching the Hebrew language and listen what he said about the O sound, and more specific or more particularly, the colon va, which makes an O sound. Then you have the sharuk that makes a U sound, right? But I want you to hear what he says about the O sound.
Here's a chart that summarizes vowel class and length. And you can see across the top the three classes, ah, e, and u. And then down the side, the four lengths, long, medium, short, and very short. So let's just go over this chart. We'll start with the ah class vowels. The long vowel is cholam vav, and you'll recall that this says O as in snow. Now you might wonder why an O vowel is in the ah class, and this is because of historical considerations. Originally, there was no O sound in Hebrew.
You guys heard that, right? There was no what? O sounds in ancient Hebrew. All right. But nevertheless, Masha, okay? Let's continue here. Near East studies of the name Moses, okay? This is important for you guys to understand. The abbreviation Moshe also occurs independently in Egyptian. It should be not the second consonant in Hebrew. In Hebrew name is a sheen, Moshe, right? Sheen as in Moshe. And that the Egyptian verb, the ma and the shah, is found also in the Old Testament in the name of Ra, Ma, Shah. That's how you would pronounce it in ancient Hebrew. We have Ramsey, where, however, the Egyptian verbal form in the original name is a perfect participle, Ra, Ma, Shah, right? And in family, this is where you start understanding even the linguistic angle of reconstructing a language. They start with what they call is the reconstruction vowel. And guess what vowel they start every language off with as they try to decipher it? Bingo, the ah. It's just, if you think I'm making this up, look it up. That's the primitive root vowel. Every other vowel comes from this vowel. They are what? Diminutions, of altering and changing that very vowel sound. So that's why you see the consonants here. Ra, ma.
Last week we were looking at.
All right. So, but nevertheless, you see, re is he that born him. All right. So what is this saying? Let me read a little more so you guys can understand. Sir Alan Gardner has discussed this derivation among others in an article on the Egyptian origin of English personal names, which he contributed to the Journal of American Oriental. The word Mose in Egyptian means son or born. So this is telling you that word Moses or Masha, and from an Egyptian perspective, from their culture, from their language, from their lexicon.
All right. So the important thing to know about these vowels,
I'm hearing a little audio from you.
Which of these are short? Which would be the Batak?
All right, I'm gonna meet you out here. Let's see here. All right, because I was hearing, I think it sounded like you sizing up a video there, so I want to mute it out so that way I won't get any background. All right, but when you're ready, you can always unmute yourself. But so the word Mose in Egyptian means son or born. It is a very common element in Egyptian theophoric names such as Thut Moses, son of Thoth, right? In other words, Thoth is born. So this is showing you how when you see Moses connected to whatever prefix, it's saying the son of, let's just say, as you see here, Thut Moses, son of Thoth, Ramses, son of Ra, Moses, son of Ah. In Moses' case, it simply means son or born. Why? Because he's not an Egyptian. Moses is not an Egyptian. He's not a descendant of any of the pharaohs. So therefore, he could not take on the son of being born to any of them. His name in Egyptian, from the Egyptian perspective, saying it simply means son or born. But when you read the scripture, Pharaoh's daughter actually give you the definition of the name. And this is where you get into what is called loaned words. Cultures do that all the time. That's next to each other or interact with each other a lot. So Moses is a loaned word. In ancient Hebrew means what? Taken out of the water, Masha. All right. So let me go to the 18th dynasty, right? And the reason why I'm going to the 18th dynasty, because I had a discussion, not going to get into the details, of someone challenging me to prove to them that not only, actually prove to them that the Israelites are dark melanated people. So I did this on the fly. I said, hey, what do you think they look like? Well, I'm convinced that they're not white, they're not black, but they're olive. So I had them look up olive. Told him to go to the Oxford Dictionary. And guess what? He went there. I said, which olive are you referring to? The green or the blue-black olive? I said, evidently, it sounds like you're worshiping a sick Martian Messiah, according to you, your unripe olive. Then I took him, I said, hey, type in Moses, 18th dynasty. So he read it. So he confirmed, because many believe that, hey, Moses lived during this dynasty. The Exodus occurred during this dynasty, which actually is the 13th dynasty. But anyway, so I said, okay, we established that. I said, okay, so I'm going to prove to you just off the 18th dynasty. But anyway, I'm going to share with you guys what I share with him. So Moses, Masha, the father of the 18th dynasty. This is a source I had him go to first. Moses the first, king of ancient Egypt, reigned between 1539 to 14 BCE, and founder of the 18th dynasty, who completed the expulsion of the Hyksos, Asiatic ruler of Egypt, invaded Palestine, and re-exerted Egypt's hegemony over northern Nubia. Now, Palestine shouldn't even be here, right? The transliterated word should be Philistine. The Greeks, the Romans actually created this term Palestine. So this is another deception. But I took him here. But why did I take him here? Because I showed him a hidden fact about the 18th dynasty. What is the 18th dynasty hidden fact that most don't really know? The ancient Egyptians wore wigs and locks. They had locks, many of them. Look at that wig right there. This is in the British Museum, a whole cabinet filled with these. Come on, family, you can't make this up. You cannot make this up. But these are not the only images. This is an actual video, right? This is an actual video. Let me play just the, let me see if I can play it. Oh, it's not playing. Something wrong with it. Let me go back here. Yeah, I thought I had the audio. It's not playing. But anyway, come on, family. This doesn't look like Caucasian hair right here. Anyway, let's look at a couple of statues here. Tell me if that looks like a European, Caucasian. Now, the only reason why you see this portion of the wig, the locks have fallen out, is because the chemicals that the Egyptians used caused the hair to straighten, but the tips still remain locked. All right. Look at the braids. Look at the features. All right. These wigs date back to the 18th dynasty. Any comments, Berean scholars? Sound like you was queuing some things up there.
I had a video to show the same thing with showing the wigs that they wore with their hair, and they were definitely not like Rabbi Smoody.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, I had the video up in this presentation. Somehow I think it got corrupted, the presentation. But yeah, normally I'll play a video and I don't have my hard drive here. Let me know once you get it up.
All right, I will do that.
But you may have to mute the audio out, because I know when I played it in the past, it'll it'll get flagged.
Okay.
All right, but let me know once you get it. So, family, this is Aristotle, 320 BCE. This is what he says about the Egyptians. Those who are too black are cowards.
Just like the hair on our heads today. So if anybody tries.
Those who are too black are cowards, like, for instance, the Egyptians and Ethiopians. But those who are excessively white are also cowards, as we can see, for example, of women. All right. Apollodorus, 70 BCE, affirms that Egyptos conquered the country of the black-footed ones and called it Egypt after himself. Okay. Herodotus, 450 BCE, several Egyptians told me that, excuse me, clear my throat. Several Egyptians told me that, in their opinion, the Colchidians were descendants from soldiers of Sesostris, I had conjectured as much myself from 2 pointers. Firstly became they have black skin and kinky hair. This is 450 BCE. All right. So if skin complexion doesn't matter, why did Yahweh use it as a sign? The Hebrew definition of sign means proof, it means evidence, it means mark, it means miracle. As you see here, a signal, evidence, mark, miracle, proof. Awath is the ancient pronunciation of this. All right. And we see the sign here. Look at what it says here. Let me oh man, let me fast rewind. I'm not gonna go into all of this, but still, he started off with his staff. Behold, they will not believe me, nor hearken unto my voice, for they will say, Yahweh hath not appeared unto thee. But the first time was a rod. I'm not going to explain all of this for the sake of time. Let me fast forward. But the key is right here. Verse 6, and Yahweh said, furthermore, unto him, put now thy hand into thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom. And when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. In other words, white as snow, no pigmentation. All right. All right. So this is just explaining that. But that is what they want you to get, the impression that they want you to have. That Moses, looked like this little kid right here. And so when Moses put his hand inside his garment and pulled it out, he went even whiter than this. Let me zoom in. This is what they want you, the story they want you to believe. One of these things do not belong here. One of these things is not the same.
That's a marshmallow floating in hot chocolate.
Come on, family. That's what they want us to believe. And they would tell us skin color doesn't matter. Skin complexion doesn't matter. But we see that was a sign used for Moses to convince the Israelites that Yahweh exists. And we see the same sign, a similar sign, when you go to Revelation chapter 1.
Yes.
And also Revelations 2. Showing you the skin complexion, telling you how the Messiah looked like. Why? Because the Most High already knew that this is what was going to happen. Our identity was going to be hijacked. But this is what they want you to believe. All right, before we continue, all right, let's play the video of what Berean Scholar has here before we continue.
She's
yeah, I have this video here, but yeah.
She pointed out the curly wigs and all this stuff and how they were saying that they were not curled like the Negro, but if she said you look at them closely.
See, I have a different video, not with her in it, but others making it clear that they're Negro wigs.
Clearly. And then she posts the pictures that you have by the locks. All those wigs are clearly black people. And these are in a museum in London.
Yeah. Actually, the British Museum.
British Museum, thank you. British Museum, thank you.
Anyone but the Negroes, right?
Anyone.
They'll leave it, if they left it up to, if we leave it up to them, they'll tell us what we see on their screen is not what we really see on the screen.
Exactly. Don't believe your eyes.
Sound like the Wizard of Oz. Don't listen to that man behind the curtain.
Exactly. And they've been doing it for centuries.
All right, so family, let's continue. We got more that we're gonna reveal here. All right. Let's see how long we've been going. I know this has been a late night, on Saturday night. All right. So you guys don't have to worry about it. You didn't just get paid. Right. That already took place. You guys are snowed in. But anyway, I'm not gonna go. What's his name? Johnny Depp.
That's where you go.
All right. The second sign for the non-believing Israelites is Moses' skin complexion. All right. Apostle Paul was mistaken for an Egyptian. Acts chapter 21, as we mentioned earlier, verse 37 and 38, as Paul was to be held into the castle, he said unto the chief captain, May I speak unto thee? Who said, Canst thou speak Greek? Art thou that Egyptian which before these days made an uproar and led us out into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers? And Josephus bear witness of this. Right? But let's continue. I'm explaining that here, and actually have the source here. Josephus confirming this event. I'm not going to go into the details of it for the sake of time. All right. Let's go to Matthew chapter 2, verse 13 through 15. Look at what it says. And when they were departed, behold, the angel of Yahweh appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise and take the young child and his mother and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. Right? When he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night and departed into Egypt, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken of Yahweh by the prophet, saying, Out of Egypt have I called my son. And this is what they want you to believe, that while Christ was in Egypt, I got to bring this image back up again. This is what Christ was doing when he was in Egypt. He was hiding, and Herod could not find him because he was hidden. He was hidden among all the Egyptian children. This is what they want you to believe. Joseph did a great job of hiding him among all the Negroes, all the melanated Egyptians, that Herod could not, none of his soldiers can figure out one of these things do not belong here.
Nobody would never find him.
All right, let's continue. Let's see here. And this is the prophecy that Matthew makes reference to. Elohim brought him forth out of Egypt, and he had, as it were, the strength of an unicorn. All right, guys, unicorns. Rhino is a unicorn, one horn. Anyway, let me continue. All right, Revelation 11 and 8. Look at this here. Let's see how all of this tie together. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, spiritual Egypt. Now, I highlight that for a reason, because I'm not going to go through all the Scythians, because that's a whole nother lesson in itself. But we know that the Scythians, as I taught this before, the Scythians are connected to the Khazarians, right? The Scythians are connected to modern day Ukraine, modern day Russia, modern day Hungarian, modern day Romania, modern day Poland, modern day Germany. Well, understand that there was three major tribes within Germany. You had the Angles, you had the Saxons, but the one group that you don't hear about is the Scythians, right? The Scythians actually, matter of fact, let me rewind that a little bit. Not the Scythian, but they were also called the Jutes, right? So the Jutes, that's more of an accurate name. The Jutes was a major tribe within Germany. The Jutes is where you get the word Jute and Jutish. right? If you study the word, right, so-called Jew, they'll try to tell you that the word started its conception in the 4th century and that it's a French word. But you will not find a single piece of writing within the French prior to 850 AD. So where did they get that connection? The French removed, according to, they tell you the story, that they removed the D from the transliterated word Udeos, right? But the earliest document you have is closer to more, when you say 850 AD, that's really would be considered the 9th century. Why is that significant? Because this is where you had the Masoretic points created around that time, changing the language. This is where you see the creation of the Sephardic. This is where you see the introduction of the Ashkenaz. You see where I'm going at, family? It's too many coincidences. What do you think, Berean scholar?
It's no coincidence. They stick out like, since you pointed out, they stick out like a sore thumb now when they come up in the records.
You see, family, they are very crafty.
Very crafty.
So you have the Jutes, right, which is also referred to the Jots, Jutes and Jutish. Look it up. Just type in your browser right now. Open up another browser and type in Jute, the etymology. And you're going to see Jute and you're going to see Jutish. You think that's a coincidence? Because that word Jew primarily evolved in the English language, Old English to be exact. Now, why is this important? That's the language that's connected to the Norse people, the Germanic people. That's one of the major trunks on the Proto-Indo-European languages. So the Scythians, right, they are the glue to all of the descendants of Japheth, because you'll see them under different groups, the Romans, right, the Greeks, Gomer. You'll see the Scythians connected all through there. So when you go further with the details, you'll see a group called the Scythian Jots. The Scythian Jots are the ones connected to the Northmen or the Norsemen. Who are those guys? The Vikings. That's right. Man, the rabbit holes go so deep here. So I'm kind of giving you a summary over the next few sources to save time. But yes, family, the Scythians, they're the glue to everything. And I'm going to show you a key piece of information about Egypt. Okay, we going there. Berean scholar, any comments as I set this thing up?
Yeah, I'm not getting in front of you because, like you see, when you show that your next resource, it sticks out like a sore thumb. Go ahead.
All right. I'm not going to get into Aaron Elhake's findings here for the sake of time. As you can see here, guys, this is Magog. And notice the group you see here, Scythian.
There you go again.
Right? Let's keep it going. And it says Scythian nation, fierce and innumerable, who live beyond the Caucasus and Lake Meatis, and near the Caspian Sea and spread out even onward to India. So this is confirming that the Jutes, right, went as far as India. And during that time, India was considered Eastern Kush. Today we call it Ethiopia. Okay, all right. I'm not going to go into Genesis 10, but you guys already know Japheth. Japheth is a son of Noah. All right, and so this is just basically giving us clarity here. Eastern Bible Dictionary. Who are the Scythians? All right, and watch how it connects it to a key group. We see Russia, Ukraine, 8th, 7th centuries BCE. But look at, oh man, did I put it here? All right, there it is. Here it is. Continuation of it. I thought I took it out. But look at what it says here. Turks, right? You see them connected to, it says here, the analysis of 393 Ashkenazic, Iranian, and Mountain Jews, over 609 Jewish genomes demonstrated that Greeks, Romans, Iranians, Turks exhibit the highest genetic similarity with the Ashkenazis. So they're saying that the Ashkenazis are connected to, and this is supposed to be non-Jewish, the Greeks, the Romans, the Iranians, the Turks, and guess why? Because they're converts.
Boom.
But look at here, look at here, look at here. We're not going to leave you hanging here. Let me show a key piece. Look at here. The Jews called Ashkenazic, an example, who? The Scythians. You see how it brought us back to the Scythians. Ashkenazic, Scythians. Now you'll see Ashkenaz listed under Japheth, son of Gomer. Uh-oh. All right. Who are the Scythians? All right, let's look up Ashkenaz, the English Bible Dictionary. Look at here, it's telling us about Ashkenaz. Pointing, connecting them to Genesis 10, verse 2 and 3, Jeremiah 51, 27. Even tell you how other nations wrote about them. Right? But look at here. For Herodotus, these people came to be called Scythians. Herodotus points out how they were cannibals, how vicious these people were, how barbaric these people were. They were fierce. The Maccabees write about them. Anyway, look at here. They're connected to who? The Scythian. You see how they connected to all these different descendants of Japheth? All right, let's continue, family. I'm just fast forwarding a little bit. Semiticus, right? Scythian raid against Egypt was stopped by Semiticus the first, excuse me. But we still see what? Scythian. All right. I'm not going to go into here, just dealing with the savagery, them finding human skin being used as leather in 14 different Scythian sites. I'm not going to read all of this, but this is what this is. This is what it summarizes. They were barbaric, family. It was crazy. Let me fast forward this, family. This article right here is how our ancestors' skin was used as leather. All right. So that spirit of Japheth, man, his descendants are wicked. All right. Let's continue here. All right. I'm not going to read all of this. The English Bible Dictionary definition of the Scythians. This gives the Scythians more information here. We're just basically repeating the same thing, but it says outside the Hebrew Bible, their reputation for savagery is alluded to in 2 Maccabees 4 and 47, 3 Maccabees 7 and 5, and so forth. This gives a number of sources. All right. Just fast forwarding here. So the Scythians occupy what is now called modern day Ukraine, Ukraine, excuse me. There is another group who are connected to the Russian Ukraine, the Khazars or the Khazarians. All right. Let's keep it going. I'm just fast forwarding here. I'm kind of fast tracking this. All right. Just so you guys can see. You have the Khazars. This is their own source, Jewish Encyclopedia, Volume 4, page 1. Khazars, a Turkish or of Turkish origin, whose life and history are interwoven with the very beginnings of the history of who? The Jews of Russia. Come on, family. You can't make this stuff up. And this is connecting them to who? All right. Meshech. When we look up Meshech, right? This is Moscow. I'm not going into the details. I'm just giving you guys a top level. I have plenty of sources here, plenty of videos that I teach this here, but I'm just giving you a quick overview, just skimming over this. But I want to get to a key point. All right, this still confirming Moscow being Meshech under Japheth. All right. Meshech, look at what it says. Moshtian mountains between the Black and Caspian Sea. So this is confirming Moscow, all right, a Russian territory. And look at what it says here about Russia mingling with who? The Scythians. We keep seeing the Scythians, family. What is going on? We see the Scythians with everyone. So far, with the Japheths, the bloodline of Japheth, right? So this is, I say, all it is. We got all sources upon sources upon sources upon sources showing the glue to all the descendants of Japheth. They are who? The Scythians. And when we go into this key piece of information, look what it says about the Scythians. Look at what it says. All right, let me get to that point. I thought I was there, but this is about the Middle East, confirming that the Middle East was coined in 1901. But this is where I want to get to. Crania Egyptica. Samuel Morton, who is a racist cranium expert, right? When you research him, you'll see a lot of papers calling him a racist. One thing they never said he was wrong about was his findings on the craniums in terms of the 750 skulls that he was able to assess being connected to the Egyptians. They never contested that part of it. Now he has some stuff that was out there, right? He wanted to point out your brain size and your cranium. He was trying to say, hey, you know, that connects to your education, your aptitude. And he had us listed second to the last on the list. Anyway, look at what he says here on page 66. This is the mic drop, right? If it be allowable to make these data the basis of calculation for the past 35 centuries. He didn't say 1 century, 2 century. He said 35 centuries. It will follow that upwards of 10 million of Negroes have been brought as bondsmen into Egypt during that period. Now, I've already proven to you guys, I'm giving you source after source, showing you that in these museums, they have what? Israelites enslaved in Egypt, showing that they and our ancestors, along with the Egyptians, look like the same people. So now he's saying, this source is saying that upwards of 10 millions of Negroes have been brought as bondsmen into Egypt during that period. So this racist guy is saying that the craniums that he had the markers, that the identifier markers on these skulls match of the Negro that was enslaved, that was enslaved during the Transatlantic World War, match the same craniums that is of people that was enslaved in Egypt. And we proved that slavery existed in Egypt. Oh, come on, family. All right, we're about to wrap it up. The vast influx of Negroes into the Valley of the Nile must necessarily have left its impressions. What is he trying to do? He's under the assumption, the belief that the original Egyptians were Caucasians, were white people. And so what he's trying to explain is why you see the Egyptians looking like Negroes. So we already proved why the Egyptians and the Israelites, they look like the same people, just like the Ethiopians. All of them looked alike. So we proved that with sources and with figures and artwork that's in the British Museum, that the Egyptians and the Israelites, they look like the same people. We proved that. Now I'm giving you another source that's dealing with more scientific proof of that. He's saying the same thing, but he's trying to give a scientific answer, saying, well, the reason why the Egyptians look like Negroes is because there had to be interaction. In other words, intimacy. So that's what it's saying here. The vast influx of Negroes into the Valley of the Nile must necessarily have left its impressions on the physical traits of the Egyptians themselves. In modern times, as seen in the Copts, and in more distant periods, as proved by the Negroid heads, in which both the configuration and expression are too obvious to be mistaken. But it may be inquired, how does it happen that Negroes or their descendants should be found in the catacombs if they constituted a manile or slave caste in Egypt. So he's saying, wait a minute, how am I saying these same people that we, when I say we, his people, right, have enslaved, have been humiliated, subjected to all kinds of inhumane activities? How is it that these people skulls are found all in Egypt? These same people. That's what he's saying here. He's asking this question. But look at right here on page 66. Look at what he says in bullet 8. He says here, and this is what I'm reading that's up here in the top right here. Negroes were numerous in Egypt, but their social position in ancient times was the same that it is now, that of servants and slaves. Guess what? Chapter 1 of Genesis say that we were what? Numerous in the land of Egypt. It says the Israelites were numerous. And this is confirming it. Negroes were numerous in Egypt, but their social position in ancient times was the same that it is now. That of who? Servants and slaves. But I have to go to a key portion here. I got to go to a key portion here. Did I have it here, or do I need to go back? Yes. Look at here. Look at here. I want to read bullet 9 here, right here. The national characteristics of all these families of man are distinctly figured on the monuments, and all of them excepting the Scythians. Wait a minute. So these people, the 1948ers, who are connected to the Scythians, who are connected to the Khazarians, here it is. Dr. Samuel Morton said he did not find a single cranium. A single cranium from the Scythians there. Well, all right, let me make sure you guys don't think I'm making this up. Let's zoom in. The national characteristics of all these families of man are distinctly figured on the monuments, and all of them, excepting the Scythians and Phoenicians, have been identified in the catacombs. Wait a minute. They could not find a single skull of the Scythians, in other words, the Khazarians, in other words, the Germans, in other words, the Russians, in other words, the Ukrainians, in other words, the Sephardic, in other words, all these different groups. They could not find a single cranium of the Scythians that connects to all of these groups in the catacombs of Egypt. Any comments, Berean Scholar? I know I gave a lot and said a lot.
No, there was that's a lot of evidence, mountains of evidence. In fact, I put it into the chat. If anybody wants some more evidence, you did this same one a year ago, but you get more evidence about what they say, what researchers says about how the ancient Egyptians look.
Exactly, family. Exactly. Appreciate it, Berean Scholar. Appreciate it, man. Family, we've been teaching this. You know, we've been teaching this for a while. Berean Scholar, myself, Sister Carol's not on here tonight. Normally she joins us. Yeah. But family, we've been teaching this for quite some time. And family, you know, we got to keep rehearsing it. So whenever there's situations like this, like iShowSpeed, and a lot of attention is drawn to them, this is an opportunity. Not get caught up in a lot of the stuff that you hear, you know, because what I've been hearing a lot about is like, hey, he's bringing attention to Africa, and that's fine. But go into this history. This is the history we don't hear them talking about. I haven't heard any of them talking about that. They say he raised questions about or brought attention to the continent, and he experienced them, but they don't really go into any of these details that we just shared.
Right.
Now, this is bonus. This is Amenhotep III, ruled Egypt, or should we say Kemet, because Egypt is actually the Greek, the Romans the Greco-Romans, ruled 1390 to 1353 BCE. Does that look like a Caucasian there? Does that look like a Scythian there? Does that look like a Khazarian? And no offense to Arabic Turks, but does that look like any of them? It doesn't, fam. But I'm not going to stop there. This is Queen Tai, the mother of Akhenaten and grandmother of Tut. Does that look like a Caucasian? Okay, all right. The Queen Tai, right? This is another image of her. Does that look like the Cleopatra that we've been introduced to? Elizabeth Taylor. As I pointed out, family, about the Arab invasion, there was multiple. I'm not going to go through all of this. But this is what I was getting at when Berean Scholar pointed out. Outlines of Ancient Egyptian History, 1892, Francois Auguste Fernandez Mariette, page 28. And this is where he's explaining why you see a ruling class is different from the people that they conquered. All right. How often do we see Eastern monarchies and even in European states a difference of origin between the ruling class to which the royal family belongs and the mass of the people? We need not leave Western Asia and Egypt. We find their Turks ruling over nations to the race of which they do not belong, right? Although they have adopted their religion, in other words, they hijacked a belief system, even though they don't belong there. In the same way as the Turks of Baghdad, who are Finns, now reign over Semites, Turanian kings, they have led into Egypt and governed a population of mixed origins where the Semitic elements was prevalent. If we consider the mixing up of races which took place in Mesopotamia in remote ages, the invasion which the country had to suffer, the repeated conflicts of which it was the theater, there is nothing extraordinary that populations coming out of this land should have presented a variety of races and origins, right? And I didn't have time to put Tudor Parfit because he's very clear of the Israelites in the appearance of the ancient Egyptians as well. All right, but anyway, the Journal of Cambrian Archaeological Association. Mr. Baldwin draws a marked distinction between the modern Mohammedan Semitic population of Arabia and their great Cushite, Hamite, or Ethiopian predecessor. The former, he says, are comparatively modern in Arabia. They have appropriated the reputation of the old race. So even though we know when it says modern Mohammedan Semitic population, he's dealing with these Turks, but he's assuming that they're Shemitic. They're not. They're descendants of Japheth. But the key point here is that they hijacked a reputation and identity that did not belong to them. And that's what this source is saying. All right. This is the guy right here, that guy. He is the reason why you see all the craziness you see right now. He is in the pockets of the 1948ers. And if you haven't, I encourage you guys, a book called Black Genesis is a great book for you to go and read. It's a great book, Black Genesis. And they expose him in the agenda. You know, all what you see about these excavations, they're prescripted. They go in, they paint up everything, they whitewash everything. Then they record these so-called real-time excavations. No, this is all mapped out. And this guy is the you might as well say the father of the lies that we see. All right. Leading Egyptian archaeologist, Dr. Zahi Hawass, has released a statement online, and this is about Cleopatra, saying that Cleopatra was not Black. Anyone or anything but who? The Negro, right? But this is the book right here, Black Genesis. I'm not going to go into the details of it, but by Robert Baval. I mean, he really, I mean, he gave Hawass the business. He really gave him the business. And he highlighted Diop's, that's who's this portion of the text is highlighting. Diop came up with a way of testing ancient mummies. I'll just read that portion of it so you see. Diop's silver bullet, however, that's his silver bullet to cut down and cut through all the racism, to cut through all the things that was taking place at that time to try to discredit who's who, right? And what I mean by that, Egyptians being dark melanated people, Negroes, right? Diop's silver bullet, however, was proven scientific. Was the proven scientific method that can determine skin color by the analysis of the melanin content in mummies from ancient Egyptians, and he insisted that that contrary to the words of the Egyptologists, it was entirely possible to determine the melanin content of ancient mummies by microscopic analysis in the laboratory. Melanin, or more precisely, eumelanin, is a naturally produced polymer responsible for skin pigmentation. It is insoluble, and can be preserved for millions of years. Such as in the kings of fossilized creatures, Diop claimed it can be measured in the skin of Egyptian mummies. Now, peep this out. Even though Egyptologists lament that the skin of mummies is tainted by embalming materials and thus is no longer susceptible to such analysis, Diop rejected this by showing that although the outer epidermis is where the melanin is usually found, the melanocytes are particles deeper in the skin where they are not destroyed by the mummification process. From samples from common Egyptian mummies from Musée del Homme in Paris, Diop was able to show high melanin levels that are not found in white-skinned people. Diop wanted to apply the same analysis to royal mummies kept in Egypt, but the Egyptian authority, Hawass, is the main leading person, but the Egyptian authorities refused to give him permission. That's what that closes out to say. Refuses to give him the authority. Right here. I thought it was right there. All right. But that's what it's saying. They did not want to give him the authority to do that. Look at right here. That's right here. But the Egyptian authorities refused to give him any samples, not even a few millimeters of skin tissues that are required for such analysis. They were scared. They were fearful because they knew that he was consistent, and they began to also try to badmouth, try to slander his reputation. That's what they do. If they can't beat you, slander you. And others, as it's saying here, it says here, Diop was reviewed. Well, Diop also reviewed the various statements made by ancient Greeks and Romans who visited Egypt, as did Martin Bernal, later in Black Athena. Diop asserts that if we accept what the ancient Greeks and Roman writers say, and frankly, there is no good reason why we shouldn't, then we must conclude that the ancient Egyptians were black skinned. And that's when he began to go through a whole list of them. A whole list of confirmation. All right. And so last thing, let me give you a couple of words and then we'll wrap up. Marine Scholar, anything you want to share? I know I've been rolling. And I want you to,
Diop was not allowed to do it, but some other doctors took his research later on and went on and proved this fact.
Yeah. But here's the kicker. They still don't want you to test those royal mummies. They still don't want to test that. They say, hey, we'll let you access anything else because they don't want to have this sticker shock right here, right? Because even though they didn't let them test it, but one confident anthropologist or whatever, he was very confident in this right here, and this is why they didn't want him to test it. They don't want to especially test the royal people. Do I still have it here? I'm sure I do. I just gotta. What happened to it? All right, I played it earlier, so I have it here. Now you know when you start going through the video list, man. After a while, everything started looking the same. All right, let me slow it down. Right here.
But the CT scan has one more surprise for Alejandro. Shammai's ethnicity.
Well, they have just told me that Shammai has Nubian features, which means that their ruling family was probably Nubian, and that was unexpected.
Examining Shammai's anatomy closely, the thickness of his bones and the shape of his nasal cavity, the anthropologists think he was a black African, likely from neighboring Nubia. A huge revelation that challenges the prevailing image of the Egyptian ruling class.
We always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type, and in this sense, Shammai is representing the society of the frontier, in which different ethnic groups were mixed. At the end, it doesn't matter the color of your skin. Shammai was Egyptian.
Man, he is so disappointed.
He was shocked.
But you see how he changed his tune? He was confident he was going to see Caucasian Egyptians. But once he, and going back to the point of the cranium, they took the cranium studies to prove that he was a Negro.
Yep.
The same studies that Samuel Morton did. So he didn't do the Diop's testing because now he's a leader, right? He's royalty. He's in the upper class. So they'll say they're willing to do other stuff, but you can't touch their leadership because that's their they think it's a big joker when actually it's a jack. You know what I mean? So the cranium is just as accurate. Which leads me to this right here. Y'all remember this fake bus? They call themselves saying that they discovered this is a
I remember
fake.
that one.
This occurred about 10 years, maybe a little longer than that. I remember that they announced it on Good Morning America.
Yep.
No, the Today Show rather. They're saying that they discovered this bus, and actually one of the anchor men or women, she stated that this looks like her. You can't make this up, man. This is a fake bus that they created. But family, let's go to the original. That's her right there.
Boom.
Now tell me, does she look like this? '18th Dynasty, Nefertari. Why don't they show us these images? Why they give this impression that there's no images that exist of, in her regards? This is her servant, Dame Ray, nursemaid to Queen Ahmosis Nefertari. Why don't we hear about this, Scholar? What's going on here?
There's no mistaking that hair.
This is going to be the final source. Anthro, notes. National Museum, Natural History, National Museum of Natural History, newsletter for teachers, 1979, volume 2, number 1, winter 89. Look at what they say here. Page 1. The roots of ancient Egypt. Who were the ancient Egyptians? Should the origin of their magnificent achievement be sought in the Middle East or in Africa? Were they themselves white or black? These questions have been disputed by scholars since the beginning of written history. Most recently, anthropological studies of human remains from Northeast Africa, together with new archaeological evidence from Egypt and Nubia, offer us a new understanding of Egyptian origins in which Africa played the major role. Now, look at what he says about the pre 1945 views of Africa or the Egyptians. Pre 1945 views, early writers described the Egyptians as dark skinned and woolly haired, Herodotus, with origins in or close ties to the ancient peoples and cultures of Ethiopia. Then it mentions Diodorus of Sicily, Strabo, and we didn't mention go through all the details here. I think I did mention their quotes, but he's confirming this. In the 18th century, ancient Egyptian civilization was rediscovered by travelers, in other words, plunderers from Europe, whose view of the ancient Egyptians was drawn largely from Egyptian art. In the absence of scientific archaeology or a code for deciphering hieroglyphic writings, after viewing the undamaged profile of the Sphinx, which the French author de Volney described as Negro in all its features, he wrote, "Just think that this black race of men today, our slave, and the object of our scorn, is the very race which which we owe our arts, science, and even the use of speech. Just imagine, finally, that it is in the midst of peoples who call themselves the greatest friends of liberty and humanity that one has approved the most barbarous slavery and questioned whether black men have the same kind of intelligence as whites." And we're going to stop right there. He gave a mouthful. He's saying, wait a minute. Here's the original people that all of this comes from, and then you're trying to downplay it. You want to humiliate them, but these are the original people that you should be paying homage to. But instead, anyone but the Negro. Go ahead, my brother.
And that if I would advise anybody to look that article up, because you can find a PDF online, and the back pages gives plenty of cited scholars that backed up this article. These are facts that you cannot deny.
Amen.
This is a Smithsonian Institute printing. So
family, there you have it. We cannot get around it. We cannot get around it. And I know, man, I didn't even take a look at the super chats. My apologies, family. I wasn't even paying attention to the super chat. So I want to give a shout out. My apology. Excuse me if I mispronounce your name. D. Hyen. I love. Excuse me if I mispronounce it. Blame Berean Scholar. He gets the blame on a lot of this stuff too. But really appreciate the love and support. Given 2 super chats, and my apologies for missing your chats. I was so locked into the lesson that I didn't pay attention to the super chat. And family, really appreciate the love and support over the years, and even to start this new year off. Social media, YouTube is doing everything it can to keep us hidden from others and try to suppress these platforms that are teaching this truth. So we really appreciate it, family. How you help us out is share the video. Even if you don't have any content on your YouTube page, post it on there. Just do a share or post share or something to that effect. but it makes a world of a difference. It really helps out big time, and it helps us to kind of get around the algorithm because that's what they're using. They really doing a lot of editing and modifying of the algorithm just to keep us on the outside looking in, to give the impression that there's no interest in what we're doing and what we're teaching. So that's their way of trying to, just to make it so that way we're not listed, But I just want to encourage you guys just to go back over the video. You owe it to yourself to go back and write these sources down. And again, I can list them, but family, some of this you got to participate in.
Yes.
My grandmother would say, "Do you want me to go to the bathroom for you too?" You know what I mean? When you actually constantly ask, "Hey, mom, what I do next?" or whatever, she would just literally say, "Do you want me to go to the bathroom for you too?" Like if she's teaching us how to sew or teaching us how to bake a cake or whatever the case may be, and we just asking too many questions. She like, just do it. That's the thing. Sometimes you just have to do it. It's not everything is not going to be laid out to where you cannot, you don't have to participate. Now we did everything short of basically coming to your house with the sources and sitting and handing it to you. We shouldn't have to do that. We already posted it here. Go ahead, Baran. Any comments you want to make?
Yeah, I'm going to add because, and for those of you who are enjoying this lesson, this is the time where not only that you can share, you can repost on your YouTube page, but share it on your other social media page. This is right beginning of February coming up. People are looking for information to get beyond the regular information they get every February for Black History Month. This connects us to our roots. The reason why they don't want you to know the truth about Egypt is that connects Egypt to us. So share it on your other social media page, let people know about it, and then get the truth out there.
And family, I know some of you guys, I see Enoch's second revelations mentioned about using the shorts. I have not been able to do shorts. Am I right, Baran Scholar?
Yeah, they disconnect some people from those pieces.
Yeah, so I can't do shorts. I tried it, and it doesn't allow me to do shorts. So, can you imagine? On top of them, for keeping me from being able to do shorts, they also removed over 25,000 subscribers since the time that I launched this platform. I mean, this channel rather. They've been unsubscribing people like Baran Scholar. That he's going through the same thing. People are subscribing. He find out that they unsubscribed them. They're making sure they don't send out notifications. They're doing all kinds of things to hinder us from moving forward. And unfortunately, because they are what they call it, they're not a public company, you can't sue them.
No.
So that's why you don't see any shorts. I tried to do shorts. Even when they used to say, "Hey, keep your videos at a certain distance and put a hashtag there." Even that didn't work for me. But Yah be the glory, because just like the Egyptians did to the Israelites, the more they suppressed them, guess what they did? Israel still grew.
Yep.
So guess what? Even though they suppressed us, did everything they could to suppress us, we still hit a milestone that only a handful, a fraction of people that's on social media hit that milestone. We still were able to hit 100,000 plus. And you know what? The Most High have a great sense of humor.
People like the people in the chat right now. The people who are sharing, who are liking, who are reposting, that's why.
That's right. That's right. So that's why it's important, family. Your participation make a world of a difference. Your comments right now, even inside the chat, helps the what they call it, the impressions. But also, if you go into the comment section and you post a comment there, that helps the impressions as well. And then now that new feature that they added called hype or whatever, all of that makes a world of a difference. And guess what? It doesn't cost you anything. And I believe that the greatest token of appreciation you can do, is, hey, you know what? I'm sharing your content. I'm gonna do exactly what you say. I'm gonna do my part to help our stuff that we're posting and sharing get shared. That's what we have to do, family. And thank you, Enoch, to Revelation. Really appreciate it. But like I said, I've tried everything. Berean Scholar even giving me some tools, and those things doesn't work. So, but y'all be the glory. We still getting this truth out there. I can't even do TikTok. Remember, Berean Scholar?
Yeah.
People have uploaded my own videos and created TikTok videos.
Up there.
Yeah, I can't put my own videos, but I got millions of views from other people sharing my videos and teachings. But I can't post it. It gets flagged. So I gave up on trying to post on TikTok. Now it's no use because of what the 1948ers got hold of that now. So, family, we really appreciate the love and support, and that's why it's imperative for you guys to just even though it may seem like it's a small thing. Whenever we have hundreds, like today, I think we went over 500. We should have at least 300 likes.
Yes,
that helps out too. And again, that's how we sabotage this algorithm. All right, and Berean Scholar, give the people your information on your channel, and let them know what some of the upcoming projects that you're working on, and drop the link.
Yeah, put it in right now. What we're doing on Berean Scholar, we're getting ready to do a good run for the Black History Month. To show facts that connects our people to who they are and their identity. Most people every February go back to slavery and go back to the ones who have done no invention and stuff like that, and that's good. But we need to know who we are. We need to know our identity. We need to know our land, our language, and our people, and our family. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to point people back to those things. So please, if you will, I just dropped the link in the chat. Visit the page. We used to have a live every Sunday afternoon at 5 Eastern Standard Time. So we'll share some information and point the truth to the Most High.
Absolutely. And Berean Scholar, man, I'm telling you, he's doing a great work. If any of you guys interested in sharing your story, sharing your testimony, reach out to him. He's doing a great job with the interviews, and he's been blessing so many.
I'm glad you said
and
that.
I encourage you, go watch some of the episodes, and then that way you can see just the professionalism, the time that he really puts into those testimonies, and it's been blessing people worldwide. Any other comments, Berean Scholar?
Since you said that, I'll put that link in there too. I have a form if anybody's interested in sharing how you came to this truth, came to this awakening. If you want to share your story and you want to give glory to the Most High in that way, I'm dropping a link right now in the chat. You can go in and fill out this form, and I'll get back to you. We'll get together to do that.
Amen. Well, family, we're going to go ahead and get ready to wrap this up. Berean Scholar, any final thoughts and any final words you want to share with the people?
It's up to us as the people of the Most High to be the light and the salt to this earth. In these last time when things are
No, you're breaking up, Berean Scholar. You're going in and out.
So what? Mike going in and out?
You're breaking up. Try it again.
It's up to us, being the people of the Most High, to be the light and the salt to this world. In these last days, when things are increasing, like the things we're seeing going on in our government, we are the people to point people to the truth. We've been lied to for a long time. So when we get information like this, please first
study, read for yourself, do your due diligence, and be able to restate it or reshare it.
Amen. Appreciate it, Berean Scholar. And shout outs to As My Soul Prosper. Thank you for the love and support.
Hallelujah.
Thank you for the super sticker family. Let's show some love to As My Soul Prosper. Thank you guys, all those that contributed tonight. Appreciate it, because again, we can't do it without you, and if without you guys, we'd just be taking a walk by ourselves. We'll just be having a conversation. Me and Berean Scholar, we'll just be walking and having to talk by ourselves. But it's you guys. All of this, everything that we've accomplished in terms of being able to grow the platforms to the point of where it's grown, it's not us, it's you guys. Without you guys, none of this would be possible through the Most High. So really appreciate it. Really thank you guys for the love and support and the patience tonight. And y'all willing, we may do a special live tomorrow night, being that we're snowed in, right? So I'm sure we're gonna be snowed in. But Berean Scholar, we'll be tuning in to you tomorrow at 4, right? Or 5 rather.
5 Eastern Standard Time.
We look forward to another powerful session tomorrow. All right. With that being said, family, of Masha, the words of Yahweh that he gave to Moses, Masha. Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 to 14. He said to Moses to tell Israel this, because they were facing the dead end. Facing the dead end. As a matter of fact, we may do that tomorrow night. Deal with proof, Israel's existence, more proof of them existing in Egypt. We'll deal with the plagues in the 13th dynasty. But with that being said, Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 to 14. Fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today will not have power over you ever again. The Most High will fight for you. But here's the kicker, family. We have to hold our peace. Can't go back, cannot stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back